welcome to another episode in the series of Gambia We Want. I presume everybody knows Mr. Mane, who has been a frequent guest to this program. So I'll just let him just say hi to the viewers.
Yes, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To all the viewers and listeners wherever you are and wherever you're listening to us from. Balibe konton number falali assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. As usual, we are happy to be here. Thank you very
much. Well, I'm Lamino Lankom. I'm stepping in for Larry and Kuyate. I'm being part of the team. So, Mr. Mane, just like the last time, we are talking about this series of the Gambia We Want. And of course, something I seem to think that is based on the vision of UDP.
Yes,
which has been summarized in the 5-point agenda. I also want to think that it's not an idealistic kind of thing. It's quite an achievable goal.
Oh, absolutely.
Even within a generation, because as you mentioned earlier in one of your programs, it's something that Singapore did.
Yes.
But coming closer, we have Seychelles, Mauritius, Cape Verde, Rwanda, and now more recently Senegal.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's just a question of getting the right policies, getting the vision, and the leadership, and the commitment. So anyway, just as a formal introduction to the issue, to remind people what the program is all about. But today we have about 5 points to discuss, if there is time. The first one is the Salaji demolition, which is the current issue. Then we have UDP's planned agriculture sector reforms for food security, food sovereignty. Then we have water supply and management for proper sanitation and agricultural development. Then the fourth one is managing River Gambia for tourism, goods transportation, and trade. Then finally we have this Senegal prosecution of past corrupt cases.
Right.
So perhaps we can start with the policy of this demolition thing. It seems it's becoming quite a habit in government to demolish issues all over.
Absolutely.
The market, we have now the Salaji. I can predict there'll be another one. I don't know of what nature.
And even before that, you remember the demolitions around Batil Harding? When they were starting to work on Batil Harding, they demarcated a number of places that were supposed to be demolished, including even a mosque at the time, you know, around what is called the, I think it's the junction before the airport junction. There was a mosque there. Even that mosque was demolished. And people's houses were demolished because they said the road was going to be 8-lane initially. Although they backtracked on that, they said, no, we never said 8-lane, we said 6-lane. But the thing is, they demolished those houses because they were going to build housing there. And they didn't build those houses, the roads to those places. But they demolished people's houses. And the sad thing is, when they demolish and then they pay later. You're supposed to pay first. Do your assessment, do your environmental impact assessments, do your cost assessments, and you compensate people before you destroy their property. They did it in Salaji. They did it on the Batil Harding Highway. They did it in Brufut when they were building that house. They did it in Canifing, you know, where they destroyed people's houses overnight without notice. They're doing it in the Kersering area, you know. They did it in the markets and stalls and workshops in KMC, Banjul, and West Coast region. What is the logic? Development is about people. Development is making your citizens feel empowered to do the things that they need to do to move forward. Why do you break their homes? Why do you break their livelihoods in the name of development, which is not there?
That's right.
If these were really compelling cases where you need to do that, yes, we can understand that. But even in that case, you compensate them before you destroy their houses. In the case of Salaji, we saw ladies who have worked all their lives, put aside their savings, and build their houses, and government comes overnight and destroys those houses without proper procedures. There are procedures if you need to break down people's houses. If you want to take it over, you can expropriate them if they owned it before. If in this case they're saying that they didn't own those houses, there are procedures to follow in court before you demolish people's houses. You don't just get up and demolish people's houses because you have power to do it. Silatije.
In fact, they come for if it's squatters have rights.
Exactly. How do you squatting like put a world DJ in Tara court? You court injunction soto. You court procedures for Kitty Boy assembly de la Puriage. I don't find you give a Maria what he did a Puri a gentleman Kalayake. But it will do it over myself, and even I tell a small pay.
Yeah, well,
I mean, Jayala, what? Huh?
Compassion.
Exactly, coming for what compassion. You can clap for what, and that's important. You have to have compassion for your people. Nimma sakunda mang balafasu to banko deli, amanyana kala mang sakundati. Katu moli sindijere pure banko doku. Moli sindijere pure ye banko dingul sembentu ya nyente minke lan kilin mal. Pute mbako yengoke. Sila nito na yo mol balanko mol tinyal. Ibe cordal tail. Ibe butorandila. Ito na famu na doro. Huh? Because come on, most people are to Fuaroli.
That's true.
And when people swell to Fuaroli, more killing to me along Frankamali, you below code.
Saving for Kuroma for
Yes.
time.
Yes.
But my interjackal William, my neighbor Mobula like a very big cause of 5 bungalow up that level.
Exactly.
So there's a failure somewhere. Why don't you address that? It all to in the world.
Exactly.
So what I'm in case really, if there's seriousness about the issue, try to learn from your mistakes.
Yes.
And mainly is how you implement policies.
Yes.
It's very important. It's not
Yes.
Because if there should be some amount of compassion, I think there should also be some kind of procedure and processes and things like that. Because for ye recorded that because one of the officials say at that point.
Exactly.
Because that's the best thing to do. Exactly.
Yes.
So there's a failure in responsibility somewhere. Well, then I feel certain government institutions, they don't have the capacity. Invest in these things, policies implement no. But here, but for policy, cool be tinyada, for be policy implement. Aka tinyarole warande than more than aka benefits menafe. Wole ako balafax waradal.
But you see that government make a serious side of kukela nyama. We don't even know to kata. Ima sura from Purkata kaje jube. With Google satellite. Google Maps, you can see Sulabi generally. It's a general mode series to milk a kanje. Follow the college. It's all generally. Then it's in Yantaminkarasike. Barika see Kamola Fioltiado Pasca symbol beta blue, India to Yoke. Banco dia Mosia Combol Toyala. Barofana Milkake, Carado Masakundal and Carado safe Efok Alcalo Soto. So being the final. Moli mana sila fumoli ila malanku ne mi usuli ya belandi ita ya kordalo ina dum kitiro wala ina ila kordal te sila ten ko nyanta stop la
so case dole for je ko man sakunda be jana safe all the in fact that should be the long term view of all this issue. There is a confusion between tenure and title. Because official there are 3 types of titles or whatever, which is freehold, leasehold, and customary tenure. But it won't be a tenure system.
Exactly.
But no title because Nico title leasehold or
yes.
But there are other forms of title. Because you have alcaloy certificate like ownership and possession.
Yes.
There are 2 different things.
Exactly.
Sign. A problem with Danning. I think we have lost the real objective of declaring a place as state lands. State lands declared not because state land declared not because they want to have ownership of the place. They want to possess the place. Police are administering, can control in case of disputes, and then can plan and then land use and can manage for administrative purposes. But ownership in the field, that's my opinion, lies with the customary level. They own the place, they own the land, and it is recognized everywhere. I think it's something may along it should be legally challenged, but I clear more.
Yes.
All state nyanta dula ownal bang because if also customary title will be fana. how do a relationship community? That's I think this is the right thing.
That's right, absolutely.
In the long term.
States long term we switch states so tala but we never tell for sile lebje we compensation lake when come jiti ina ne kacha you compensate you glado dealer you kodo dealer na ko fana stand ye balu no ja nyama itna to yele fe busila o nyama dro you know bari tilibali am be caring luwanta yam be caring ka to symbol be na do bindi ata yen sake wala mo batande yamba ko kan
go compensate. What is that enough? You know, it okay compensate for agricultural use in an urban area.
Compensation of farmer in Abol Masakunda da Maya. Ni compensation okela. Eka tale ini milta mujeti. Alisi ye kasha ye value to samana value to sula ye evaluate. Then alisi ye kasha fale nyomai. Then ye compensate. Na nyomai wakata kiti yolto. Kiti bukula ka decide na nyomai. But Masakunda siya afro haji ndani jole nyana kwenye. No, afro kwa nyama. You know?
I think about the lesson learned to be learned from all these policies, starting from demolition, market cases, and anything. Government yanders here, a commission was set up to have a good study on this. Really what the problem is. Because it seems some of the policies, Anike Miranyamis, they are out of date. They need to be realigned to modern reality. So urban area me alongo you more dula so kenobia but yet dula be declare as state lands it only that means that's ownership. I think state land interfere, that's what I believe. It's just to possess the place so that KJ control our use and our development. But ownership still lies at the customary level. And I want that to be challenged, put as a clear moment because it seems Nico state land like Ndole Tamusai. So, you know, I'll tell Dabota jail, we'll do anything we want, you know. Although it's a claim konka compensate, but that's not enough. So, ngaman you never Salaji, gal membi ya feel ko la dulale, me la keno lem jeti, wala nebe, and the mang enough compensate. Don't be jefa ngamo in kite or lem, pull kite and the development permits and things like that.
Yes.
Contradiction or.
Yes, yalo system leti yemen ka se tama nyama. Anin tilimbali ya warta yemen mindi atame yake. Wala bi ndefanga kene sona Salaji le.
Okay.
Ali mustafa bang.
Okay.
Donata aya wafi.
Okay.
Mena ngana breko le nata kumasa bolo na breko la. But I stop and I went to police and then we saw the case in court.
Okay.
But who couldn't yamre kerenje? When they stop it. You know, but alcalo la carola volti, okay? And then more could tell me I could be at alcalo than Dawala, okay? You fanang Salaji lang blood will be J. You tally the agents yola. Ya busim le talo. Ya di agents yola kawafi. So that kasije. So bari really no talima. The minimal traditional owners, the freehold and so forth, you when the Talika Tating be. No, look at him. Yes, unfortunately, you see, should go to court.
It's not responsive to the needs of the people. No complain that they don't care.
And you can for commissioner.
Understand.
Because they feel hard to get. You can for commissioner. You commissioner on the young. At a front of Fintilla. Commissioner of Fintilla Bakoka. Bring your method. Jali jamme fana mo la kene jamale tano e lands commission land ko or lands commission le kis mo jogot because they come nothing happens, they don't care, you know.
Land commission follow menkata. I had some friends in there, in fact they were frustrated with them.
So
will be resigned.
Exactly. Let's
see what happens.
I had different friends in the first one, but you know because normally commission ka put ka si monday no put ka solution on ni commission will me ko even TRRC even Jana commission we could have very high profile we could have two smank
along implementation of policies it has a lot of costs and you need to look at
and political will.
You have to look at that. Anyway, that's Salaji. Perhaps we can now talk about UDP. We have this planned, what are your plans for agricultural sector reforms in terms of achieving food sovereignty?
Yeah.
I think that's an important aspect that.
That's very.
It's all about Gambia We Want, and
yes,
it's achievable.
Yes, and the Gambia We Want has to start with sovereignty in the area of feeding ourselves.
Okay.
Because coming for development is all about people. Mola taraku, mola balunya sahaya ika for watu wati. Ningo ko develop ko balos balos sahaya le banga kalanke yata sona yata. Iko for watu wati. And wala.
Atata na to wala.
Development ta na wala. So ninga tara ninga tara mola baluma sahaya man sona ya man kalanke ya. Development man nafasuto.
Okay.
So development will be nim Gambia no jomila ko dol sta din devel si la tay la soto man siman wala woni so man day man da sa mo soto no wala batale ko no o man ke wani na kila katum banko mbol Gambia jam din dem man la lañ banko kan si am an ko ko wala nin ko man da sa mo soto so UDP kam info agriculture kumayata bakele anduna development nyanta lola agriculture le kan nini okay Gambia don bes domoro soto no nyama domoro beto domo sa hayari being ka domoro men samba kind of food self sufficiency wala mano si nyo si burole si domoro si moli asoto baraka si man kanyan ngam fanno domoro la karola wala nyanta kala ka to mun to be ne ko buntu ko be bulla buntu ba ko ndumi na ba ko yata ini ko be lalal ini ko be lalal nimba ko yata irita ba ko kata ko katila buntu ngoto so nga sherike ngam fanno na domoro la karola andum alayen so banku la mi yalon ko ji sewte banna hani riva Gambia da makanyanda bari ko la Gambia da wada ya sings ji so do ji do ko keno so nyanta wolle kala nga jiyo do ko ndi anyama pour seno keno anyama ngabo sama senoto ngata sambe sono senoto seno takal tilkandi sama na senoge
kavola irrigation
okay ye pipe wala je futa farolto ye futa kunkolto kadu manu da manteng nsimano seno tilkandi sama na tiu seno tilkandi sama no fefen sa biseno tilkandi sama ninga joto to wanyama horticulture nkata jabol ni mentengol ni fukato ni bisan na bunu to jawe fa holan fa tuba budu
wallahi well Senegal will stop le
Senegal talking of Senegal you know you have start and the middle for the water highways if I water highways
like Gaddafi did in the desert.
Exactly. Gaddafi did in Libya, Tunisia did in the desert in Tunisia. Tunisia went from a desert dry country to a green country. Tunisia look at fruits import, it look at vegetables import, it look at wheat import, it look at man of world manding import.
Mr. Mane.
Yeah.
Senegal now within 1 year with all these ambitious programs and they are implementing them.
They are implementing because Nyato Kabuto Lesoto. Nyato go beyond ko banko hati.
Just 1 year.
1 year, don't.
And you know, statistics amazingly, we have over 550,000 hectares of arable land. 81,000 available for irrigation.
Exactly.
Only 6% Ngawale use it.
Okay.
In Jahar alone, we have, I think, over 3,500 hectares. You know, but Yalan Kajele use it. Just 15%, 500.
There you go. Mano, government forward, and we follow. Jakara water bucket. Not the governor of Central Bank boy. Ecolas layer 4 ko. Sawosan Kamano 225 or 45, 200,000 tons plus in import. Sawosan.
Oh, wow.
No, Ministry of Trade and FLA. But Ecolas layer 4. So, Ninka 250,000 tons of rice, San Nambanta Sawosan. And also, Sawosan.
Foreign exchange of order.
Exactly. Sawosan, don't $1 million kilo for Lankoldo. Women Nakodo million kimenani. Now, do Nkalta Katama no Sambanta. Ninga Mano do Kujang. Million kimenano Dalaso, and Cloning Bankolaka.
I think that's what Senegal saw, so they said they'll stop.
Senegal no Kumasi.
That's a savings.
Water highway no Kumasi. So sign Senegal baby yesoto la Minister of Agriculture. I mean, ako kunkolu minang. Yes, Mabuba Jan. And you make a
lot of experience.
Agriculture financial expert level. But I'm not invest in agriculture. Ako minang ibe kunkolu.
Wow.
Modern farms, 5,000. Sorry, no, 3,000. 3,000 a
yeah.
Bulisaba. O Bulisaba kilokling a better hectare lulu.
Wow.
Iberekela. I mean, ni kunku Bulisaba lo Gambia jang. Kilokling hectare lulu. And welcome economic kato. Omanke bano fantide. Ni kudolem. You're killing. I don't know. I will move do quality.
Yeah.
Ni kunkuni sabake. Ebi do ko di la funding ki will tan lula.
Oh yeah.
Okay? Ni yo di wala. Oli o kiseno ke osama be ko na jeso to efemo be soto. A do yata nyawa nyang. Killing karifa ba will tan lula soto la karifa. For the start. New York must have develop a training a processing start. Because to move agricultural world, agriculture and take industry factory agriculture can. Ni agriculture katanyama. Na manota example. Yema no doku. So take hectare foko a ton kenesaba nyone wuli kenesaba la sangokono. Niwa wuli kene nani doku, wuli kene lulu. Kene sa wonga rumani banko kan wuli kene fuwa nga wafi banta. Okay? Exactly. Foreign exchange le wodi. Wole mi mtamu woma anote milo doku, o say ya bismu fuwa reakono overnight.
Yeah, because I just made a kumakundu. I can see ko fenko UDP la fenko nying. They want to invest 10% of the budget.
I
think that's for
Maputo agreement.
If you can explain that.
Yes.
And
because
how it's important.
Yes, because African Union is Maputo. In attack sonko agriculture le 20 million ko besulet wala pour ka balunya beto sono. E ka balunya sahara. So pour le keno na franco kamingi sausa na budget to. Ni budget ni atala se la kemeti. Si duata oriental agriculture a duata nyanya si duata oriental agriculture ni okay mo si do mero soto no because ni mane beto soto na tulu beto soto from tio na fonikel mako yin malende boke su beto soto ni si se beto ni nye beto sa bogo hobetal alale na banko kan diabetes and high blood pressure be siaring do mero jawele ka sabu fanam bake no, I found out diabetes and high blood pressure.
No.
Kamin doku, the more betul the kasoto more the more betul. B, nija hama se tu tulo do jamar se do. Below the kind of focus Yes, I ya develop. Ni modo dok ni he ko ni tulo akabu nami. Ni sa ni fa abik ni ya do dinka ko ika kero do mo abi fala.
Badi bun ko le.
Ana ka wara jaran ko le. O jaran ko le. Wala jaran ko wala fatu ko na ko drama ko da ko ni ni ka to foro ko. Ani jaran ko na ko. So ika kero do mo na o fala high blood pressure and cholesterol. Nkama no ni sambana jang. Tama babu je fara starch yala. O starch wala ka diabetes fana cause back. Mimi do ku jang wo be problem be banta. Then most data can be sort of the travel finance the house of Lomandi. So more column ka lobitan jara lo sa ko no ko and then sit na industrial slow ka. Mimi okay be. Mimi ko lo ka mano in be important na ka ta world. Abi do ko le janne. So olu do ko agriculture so sembo ko tege. Senale sembo so to ko tege. Industrial lo ka. Si se min ka bodang kami import nam banta wat yana ni si se wa nam bang ita mo ko ya finish ko tege. Ni ya finish ko so mo ya ko ya nam wala ka food poisoning sama no here critical salad ba critical salad do food poisoning lamo is food poisoning what come on fale but no poultry but also na do ko take care of that problem so both the same thing na musul ka na ko ko minge e ko ko fi fa ndoku na ma wa ntaba sa ma sa ko namba sa na cold store ke na fi lo ke ila excess nga sang ni nga san transformation staff ni na processing determined mental sa na banta ko de ni menten lo hati mental lo hati foko tomato paste nda sa na banta ko de sa do ko no jan fruit juice da wa fa sa na ko de ba bu ko la jan ka su ko ba ka la jan in ka todo mo min sa pour si se lo ke ba ni ala ani ni be to malo Gambia sawu dia do nyanya 20 to 50,000 tons ni sura tawale ton William wankata wuli tawul sura tawale pour be ngalo do maro
wow that's something
to ba nyoto ni mo to ba nyodo ko jang ngata ni san banta ko do ko jan anu min ka si se bula ani ni be to mari ila danyo da so ya so da si ji o to wol do mo be soto o to wol da si ji to install si sia
Yeah, men can jack. Last time governance is all about priorities. Purialo men kumayata.
Yes.
Anunga yoko UDP or agriculture kumayandi.
Yes.
We come for budget will be 10% kalaje.
Yes.
Dole from the World Bank. Iko agricultural taliata purka fuare apai.
Exactly.
Ye fengo dundi dalaso dundi je about 30% or 40%.
Yes.
Because akela income le lafa. Now, just put our example odi. Because right now until just manonying. I'm on a hectare kamemboni is about 2 to 4.
Yeah. No, 1 to 2.5 tons.
Okay, fine. And now company does road out for 7.8 or something.
Yes. Yeah.
And there's a possibility put at 12 tons.
Yes.
Now.
Yeah.
Take 1 hectare.
Exactly.
Of land. That means that can produce near body as a main produce no. You can almost get
10 tons.
About $55,000 per month. Man love dollar details, but you can get that per household.
A theater of the fund.
You know, that is
okay,
my
okay.
1,650. You know, you can get that.
Yeah.
You know, because it's just unfortunate because 12 tons per hectare, that's $200.
Exactly.
$200, I multiply 1,000, that's almost 330,000.
Exactly.
For one harvest.
One
make a harvest full like.
Saba.
Well,
harvest saba. Honey, mano is 3 to 4 months. Ni rekata. Wallahi ninga kanya si nani sango ko si nani so no. Si nani so daga sabata ro.
Nga fulata. Fulata is 660,000.
Yeah.
Okay, that is $55,000 per month. So munatina imang agriculture ke priority because ika Taiwan mem for jindulal mem be yo si fa lek serial fa le woleke and it's a research molia research World Bank eco al 10% of right now nga make agriculture can make invest is very small in terms of our budget.
Yes.
Compared to
I'm on 5% CFA. Not Tunisia for science.
UDP is emphasizing you put 10% and then have all these policies because the other thing the other thing is fuare jang keme mo tal lul nin sabam fuaro. There is one particular year mo ke wuli tang sabamu mu 33,000 wuli tang saba wuli saba wuli fuare at 5 kilometers.
Yes.
All right. Now and the fuaro be jama ibe
yes, Santoto.
And the wolf fanang, near Kemeta, almost Taworola ni war. Baby dog or agriculture.
Yes, Senegal.
So what I'm trying to that means near Korodung agriculture, I can make a fuaro le marco, you could jamasuru, moment ka $55,000 is a tomo, a fellow kudo cool felsonia. And Fulanyang, that means even man or men import like 200 million. Tala, your savings or
import substitution.
So only left to emphasize indicate at least UDP policy is very clear on
yes. And okay. For basically for Yakon. People for Yakon. Or Kodomi Soto, Iba spend lally. If you listen, Naji, is it I ila bundo kuran sanje bundo kwa bimbeto Soto. Ye frigol sang, ye televisional side, non sambakaram bumo to etc. It's free time, but most isi motos, ile motos sa yewu leta ilo kungotere do kole seni nila moto. It's easy. Yeah. Exactly. So ni kita wolkat ufana webika tax lejo.
Yeah.
So il tax base if what of kafu. If we widen the tax base, tax jola si siya.
Why they don't?
Ni tax jola siya. Ko siya ba ko ka bi GRA ko. You know about 20 billion one in some way to collect the tax. New loopholes will be blocked. Any tax base wiring, sang. Si billion tan ni billion talul so na bako tax lale. When the budget cover. Exactly. Ni when the budget cover. Don't you sort learning agriculture nyoldo. Ni seno bundaldo. Even sort learn social state enterprises nyoldo. Even sort of fun adult, even development kafu. Ni a profitable soto. Isa no le. Isi ni pa jele kala eka mol semento la puro lono faye. Ite so ko kam verite so jele ko be so ibe makoro ko won ni jele te fonta nye de mo le faye. Mo be lono faye. En kam foto mo na fka be daw mo le en so. Lafta wala banyem ba ko kan. Mama yolono faye yela hajo to pato benga ta nyaato ma sekunda na famu waleti yalo infrastructure is important, but infrastructure canal ni ate what can say bikalo yalo yemira tamola ikono na fare ikono na fare ita mento yalo be mer la kata dende ka kutol sa wala fa ida moro ka falo. So for you to follow, development is all, you can't break you is all inclusive and comprehensive and holistic. It can't really be annual. So needs no semblance to ya. Most of the proposals no to ya wafi. O to be like industry factory load or cookar. To be ya samba. It a land bank you will let them carandije. You baby tax legal tax one be sialo nyama. If I'm going to call a full soda and no tax theater, investment is yellow and yama. In Kabirabin Tabanta, nothing to retire the cattle. Well, you didn't back in the country for long. Mansakunda is phone call a tractor Jamal Lefansa. Tractolu, Tutor Lamalu, Kater Lamalu, Busar Lamalu. Sunday jande bankoka okay fulanjang jambando bira sambana e manson ka di jula de
ndo ibuka kalama. But anyway, Mr. Mane, ninko ngawa menkel agriculture is so important and fundamental to development. Maybe in sina koteke nga for nga lafa koteke is something me alonka it could be an overarching topic in this whole issue. Because time out here left nga move koteke silang is in fact related water supply and management for proper sanitation and agriculture. So they are interlinked actually. So
geo kuma tabaka na baluo kono. Hada mote balu no le geo koma. Agriculture keno le geo koma. Hanin na dino akola ko seneya musilima ya talante wala defamo. So fonga seneya, fonga geo soto. So wo geo finance no te fono la geo koma. Ba ni geo soto anyama. Seno si sono ya, seno si bete ya. Mbol si na fulo sunyo la senot. Bi, yalon kame fo manon kawal fo bakip. Bari ninges yeso ta nyam. Isi tiyo do kuno le sango kono si nyas fula saba. Isi findo ni nyol do kuno nyamale. Isi nying gadino keno le si nyas saba nani sango kono. Vegetables, sul be keno le. Isi maleyandirol keno le. Ay sono ya beyangol bika do moro sotli kando ko so ni okay isi nyama façon do yalla to leje ma fon wa o kabeta ba pour beyangol isi wol kenole isi nyama façon do yeme ko beyangol la fel sul be do kuno le beyangol do o manje ko do moro fenne bar beyangol do moro lewde isi o do kunole ne o do ku ko wa fi beyan tioluma ol fanan ko tay ko do ko ika do moro beyangol do moro ndial wala ol fon li itali fi fayi begal sitarno je wate be si be beto soto ko no be faring e bete yare be ke kuring so ma fote mo manki la koteke So oba ni nga ba topato nga nyin jisu yil topato nga ji bo holol amate pour gaji no bar pour ka jiyo samba banko kan ye bo holol lisin dulal to taring ye pay balla min ba kara fulo bela Gambia be ye pay posoto Gambia mon fanwa janga yatale akono janga bara mon fan ye pay fulala do ba kara dola bo ba kara dola ye pay bo holol sing isi wolu soplano jira so banko dawda mo bi si jiyo soto non minda jiyo soto je senera jiyo soto je no kata seno skeno a nyama sango kono sino ko tilikandi sama.
So ika mem for ten wala mintu put affordable irrigation system put in place. And there's another multi-major sign put a geoeconomy drip system.
Drip irrigation.
For policies to remember geo management.
But for geo soto a nyama neo soto neo drip neo system olke. Geo drip irrigation okay. Dawde sulata liter tan je pour kay yirol jibo nin drip irrigation liter fula liter sabat tan bila wala isi jioli suto anyama okay that is one thing but ko kuno fana bije ni wo je suto anyama isi jata kende fana sahayandi no bakele katuni jiyo masoro jata kende be keno anyama mujuma bije bisaje kebal du ni man je suto isafu ko atiwa tirete la boyta it's dehydration.
Yeah.
So will be a problem.
The
sanitary part. And in Ji beto sort of fana. You have clean drinking water. Ji senungo ji beto. Sa do bije ibiko soto. Kar sa dab jama bije kabu jiyo leto. Nin jiyo man sene asa sale ton nemo. But ni uji sudo nyam bi ni finta nyim kombo jang Greater Banjul area. Ji seno soto ko leer.
That means are serious because of this climate change mankana.
Exactly.
Salt water intrusion so do the problems. I remember easy. We had this program about building dikes for salt water intrusion.
Yes.
And because they have to be maintained and things like that.
Yes.
The productivity of rice fields and things, access to rice and things. So in water supply management for agriculture, I think is a very important policy.
Yeah,
and I hope UDPO put in.
We are working to all be prepared because in saltwater intrusion, dikes the matter. We have to start working on River Gambia to stop the salt water going up the river. Okay. Salt water, Kojio, a canal for balingunyol mafana na jamfata. Ala futo kawrunyolu odango do yata bakel.
Very rare.
But sanji ko yiwe tambi kawul belale.
Climate change.
Because climate change yiwe ji kanne ni man fere ke na babe danyi babe to jis ko yisa be tambul. But ni okay. Isi jise so nyim babe to seno ke no je wate o wate. Isi jise so no isi pipe la fana jise so no. Anim fana River Gambia munye na fulu sutura na fulu ko la sila baleti mel ko bika tamandi nyama. Ni River Gambia ta ya tamandi nyama bi tourism
that's the next topic. I'm convening
okay.
Managing River Gambia. Go ahead.
Yeah. Ni ibe kulungol sambala nang yelo River Gambia kan tubabol ska wuli janna ni hani Gambia dingol fangole especially isi wuli janne yuko biode bita tinyana ba bita tinyana no balero ine dimbaya ita alebula kulungola ita fo albadari alebula kulungola ita fo nyomi santo jana wala ta fo bolon kono wala ta fo basi ale murna ale lifota ale ta banko je ale murna o nyen dolu mila ko toriso men kanana isitano le kenana ye 1 week Senegal biya ma fa wala jang ye 1 week do ta ita bolon kono inin kulungo mol kala fi wala le so istaraw ba kan ibe la holiday enjoy la je traji e ko do spend lawr so ne wol be ta ne be kan o siro tumo ni bota banju ne fukata fo basse ngamira wafu tanning woro fo woro wala siro kan
okay
so waful besi wuli no koteke
yep
so mil be ma fawul bela tumo kawur nte wulta kawurle o santu satul be e kanale la fewol samanan kawru nin kulu le dirade bi nana ina ku je
trade so abe trade faran
exactly safaro mol kanale mil be kulun kono kanana ina bodam banjul ma fana ko moje nana jije yo fewol se na muru so sinale wol wafije kulungo e wolta yi sambana yena do koli so do fa do ko kala nyamale o ba ko sat be si wuli kote
fatal non kabe nyim river transport
yes.
ko fata rek
o fata bari sila do fana do bije ninga ledirat ninga nyim ba tamandi nyama mbe kulundo fana sotla mila lonko e sikari bagasol bondi jang ke samba santoto.
That so will be a savings on the burden on the road.
On the road, exactly.
Road wear and tear.
Niyo okay. Silol me yalon ko bi ibita sanji mo sanji tan saba. Niyo okay. Motul be silo tala abe do yala bakele. So silol sita sanji tan nani sanji taworo wala. Imantinya. Ima ol repair. So isi silol si me silol si tariya kato motol to siyala je baake baale si silol soto molbe tala baaka minna o fansi ko do dudi nam banko kan asi safaro kafuno nyim banko kan asi tani na sono yandi asa tinna Gambia la satul mis samtol mi be faaka bi kato mobe ka borna kan asi kombo be wulal ko teke kato mol sarno jele yela do ko ke je yela safaro ke je yela kul ke je ite sel ita sina ina si kombo je ni bata be silel sa te wolleto ma kawru is much more lively than kombosata jamal babi ol basic yeno la kotege
mo kata li fola ni school
kata kawru li fola big town diata fata mbita
so nga men sutela kumo kono dal wala one not a river transport managed properly one transportation be cheap of goods kata bolon kono
sono ya
that's dia silo la wear and tear abe employment generate la jing satol to many wafo le be yenge do ko sona wo satol men sai la ko jide sa je wuli so wol fanang employment be je income generate so ibaje balwe sonia ko
exactly
balwe then but tourism fanang puriata wo be foreign exchange na fela fanga kulumba dole jabe abe sembala Dakar ko yo yenna ko
exactly and final point hanin na da poro fala do ko sonoya katum bini fewol na tay ke beji di banjuni janne mutoli ne kamanan mutu balita milbita Mali milbita Senegal Oriental Tambacounda ma fon milbita Guinée Bissau Guinée Conakry be kana jane ata jayita ni ba tupoto nyama ye kulugol keje nim fewol na ta jang isi wala no kulundingol lale ita dol jindi balingo e dol jindi farafeñe e dol jindi kawri ta dol jindi kuntawur kawur kuntawur njaawo kuntawur fo basse so nimmele be Kafrin ma fala kungel nyolu ima sule nana fujang ibe le bagasul tara kawurle wala ya ta kuntawur wala njaawo ya samba Senegal Sin Salum je milibe tamba ma fama uta ya ta basse ina ita
so at least that means
malin koli na ya ta basse ina continue so nana fujang
clear vision of where to take this country
as
to Gambia we want
is
achievable. It has been done in other places and it's being done so just recently by our next door neighbors.
And even it was done here, Jamfano.
Yeah, at one time, yes, definitely. Unfortunately, we seem to miss our priorities. Saying is
you see, bring a Transgambia Salolo. Nia Jubi, wala salta back a santola Jubula. Karupu moni kulol natano. Kulol kamuja banjuni for kaurita tiul kama kauru. Duita kunta tiul kama kuntauru. So nga selo seleni santo le folo ne ko la ke drop ba ko drop kana maintenance problem wala na Africa ko nga selo kay sele santo ko so no ko do may ta wala beke so ni lumu ko le mi ya lon ko na mansa kundalu le sa keno bar ni ya a vision no soto and UDP ye wala soto nga wala prepare mi ya lon ko nin nata be milkela be ko belo la nyokanne nga alo nyine nyenta kala pour nyi soto c'est non l'anyanta bambanda subsembentu yala pour doboro sono ya pour facturer le lono pour wafiro keno banta hotelo le support restaurant le support tourist industry support kodo isia mole foire ya kono silo le doku tane na sono ya l'hôpital le doku yata kende soto no etc ni ba fanan topato tane na si sono ya seno si sono ya safaro si sono ya yata kende si sono ya so ika wole bele jibe sa yewol be jibe sa nembe nyim bekela fewo fenne ala dulale be nyanta kela isi ya jibe be kala nyaadile be ko do bon la min tole ba taman la nyaadile ni ngake mi jenta mo soto laje so yewo be calculate yewo be check so yewo dum yudi be ka woleke So niaje bi mbe fokan kati tumodo jamaji man kanaje kuru yali men kan ka wolle fo sa fa be tinyaro bar bi ko le ko de tinyaro mata war lawdo kamin fo mo le bi wala ne UDP sitansi min keno kanyam banko falling simin keno ga be de wala balo sono yandi lafta fana mo le fana je andu seno mo fana kilin donnere andu seno fana ma be ma fa katu man malendiro man factuel man abattoirol men kala bi pour su boy to nyama kata supermarketol to kata restaurantol to kata hotelol to mo fo ma folo ibi tambal je nyama mo ma folo ibi do men sambala pour be yol do men kala mo ma folo bari wol be ko be ko to kasilen kam miralan ka chanyo fe ka prepare ngana planol de da ite ko kala mutaje
so akam to go dal basically atata nata vision on nyanta priority set.
Yes.
In terms of development, basically, near Faram Fanchi, ye mola balo sonandi, ye bola balo nyandi.
Yes.
Surtout banko me alongu fuarea tambita mo keme tata. In fact, dula dolbi ye fuarea goho dolbi ye. So 88%.
Exactly.
No keme tansei and insei.
Exactly.
And in fact, ngai fenke dole ge kafoko pour balo la kole adron. Keme mo mwanin konondo ni daras keme soro taworo ka karoka taworo be ka dung domorolta
exactly
mo keme mo mwang ani lulu in fact sa siato men yalonko pour ye domoro soro every day is a difficulty.
Yes.
Why shouldn't that be a priority?
Exactly.
Rather than even mase fempo boila.
Exactly.
Salaji fenkol boila because many nyanta do ko kele maka nyama. Come on, there should be some kind of level of priority. Ye corruption by you know, these are some of the issues because hani bi ni ma woke fuara in fact fuara wotumo it was something like I think 40 something or something percent started to 50 something percent. So that means it's increasing.
Yeah.
You know,
and nim falon ko masakundal tamandire bulolla o ka fulla doron yal to kam foto nim sene lay hectare kilin do kasi wuli keme saba wuli keme nan soto no 4 kilin oto nka jibo maana botol fanga nga wala da jindi wala na oketa momo ye hectare kilin do ko yebbo to keme fulla soto je ni wa fi wuli kilin wala be kala wuli keme saba wuli keme saba so kan to ka jelle fote bari masakunda mu fere landolati masakunda mu ngani yolati masakunda tamando mu ka banko hatile mu anen ka tilingo sambana nje kabala fasuto banko dingoli ka to wolle yo andu wo hino mo kulde mi yalon ko fango o muta kam far lolati ka to wolle sindi ke jo ke topato ida fanan kam farlo mu defanan ka puy fanan wol topato I
love the man because sometimes we talk about these things, but I can better ni ko misali. Ni ko fengo jamfata. Ya ka sumanin fenna. So maybe ninga Senegal ta because it's a very important example for us. Nka corruption ko fo jang dolba for la is a matter of opinion. Dolba for la ibuka it's very difficult pour ya for munem corruption ti. But Senegal signed with less than 1 year.
Yeah.
They are working so fast in on those corrupt issues.
Yes.
What the report will mean baby J nafe. Instead of your commission of a check, you can somebody straight police all name fenkol yabe anket ya jube.
That's right.
Is that these are some of the examples. Why are we not doing that?
Yeah. Political will.
Ajube right now CFI is 620.
Okay.
Come Salo.
Okay.
It will shoot up.
It will go to 650. You know? Because tell soka boile. It will tabe seleka. Kodo kodo bambandi. Wole mu mas fonko fankoti. Nim fanko so ka me real economy. Oso da mi yalon ko banko ka fengolu suta ke wafia ka sefarol ko ka fanko ka ni mo ke la ko dala so ila ko do ka boyle ka 20 min sa sembentu ya Senegal bi be do ko wala bi Senegal bi ajube ma yin sango kono e mano daji mano sukuro tulo farignol e daji di signafula e kurango daji di signafula fen bebe jikan parce que men ka sunya nun ika wala ta yole ta men ka sunya nun yole ta yole ko sai ya parce que tu bali ale biye ni wata wala kelo man to yon tulba tandila min ka sunya Senegal yewle dinkol be suki so ko do min ka sunya no bibe do ko do lan fewol daka jino
yankuba e wala ka brika
exactly
so it's
doable tul meta fana UDP janne ni ngata no masa UDP masa kunda se 2021 no me kan le Gambia use example not Senegal ko Senegal kan be ke kante
in the 5-point agenda
ibe be ke kantul ko wala fo meto fo lale
is there
Senegal kan kete tul meto fo lale
say nga mamba si danno jang nga kol kumfa because time wota for another time pour ka jube lal fenke but même kuma yata je always ngatula concours la men na wala mintiko e kanyin kachal men be ka man ke do nga jube nga la moy abandal is better fanang what mon ka wal fonko mo boy diary nyen you can call
exactly
so baside sikala sata
yo
so nga ma me wala kachala ja mo be diary nyen be ka fo nga safeje so baside ni mo be kachala ya fa ketata
la min mane ni dafa nu jang
the interesting thing is in lari wala ni jonte alka men for is based on fact
yes
these are facts me alka fonang sometimes from government sources and things.
Yes.
So love to conclude wala because na time
banta exactly. So to look at fair for wrong. Bika fon kumfe. Nka belon di sede jarol le kan sedol mi sede ko jama fon il masukunda fon le ka fo. Ira kayto le ka wolle fon wolta. But even okay to ngalo ko kayto lu man ta nyama. Kayto imang correct. Nin tule nga do ko nyama be min fintindila ne be fintita nga min fo bi be min do kuno la samol tambila wala bare nak ku kilembe kering wala tinyaro be nyim banko kan nim man ferki nga falendiro ke saing be sila wato ko le ambe tar la banko kan mo si ni to ku yalla be tar la je bi Senegal nga wala jije inata e ku yemi la julo minna ye min taraje juloti asiyata uti bakele e min je suñaro nuk min nukunta fa mol ba min kala do fanan siyata jawke so fo yewolu be fere no suñaro be jolale Senegal ya tara million wuli lulu ye ko do ko fa million killing e million ko do ko fa million wuli lulu ka fo le 5 trillion ye wol tara juluto mi yalo ko masa ko ndama hana fo mole fan yewo mabol so fo yo bejo ani million wuli tanni million tanni sa bo belarin 13 trillion yo bela nyokan fo yo fan bejo Macky Sall ñol yewole tuyeje fo yo bejo so bare Gambia bien si ku kianole mi yalon ko sama si beda hande wolen kam masa kunda ñim fale mi yalon kam molu hatinga fere kenga ba sa kunda lo misi banko to Senegal be wala bi ne Senegal wulta bi takan yela domorul da be jindino e kunol da jindino e kube da jindi kartu suñaro men ke je suñaro le stop yanku bay wala ke brikama jang ni ngo ke Gambia beto na suñaro bundalu suki na keren dinkolu be suki na dirime dinkolu be suki
yang se wala ka ko black hole
ngol be suki kerol be fara suñaro ben tiol be suñal diremol be fara suñal ngo dinkolu ngo dinkolu be suki te problème sot la côté ke ben na fewol sot la ñamale den si tamandiro keno a ñama si banko do kuno a ñama o be sikki ñim banko kan ne nga tilingo soto ñim banko kan andon wala sikki no son tul kam mol dani minna be nga ñaayele be nga fango kanu nga dimba yalu kanu nga lon ko mimbe kere ñim banko kan mo kana i fankon foita carte o fay adama baro e côté ke kanu fankon la tide katu ko lembe ñim banko kan ni yo kafu bi sama da malte kunna ñim banko kan so manyan na je kala ngam fankanu nga fale ko ke mi yalon ko carte fo mas Gambia dingol tamola carte oti nela UDP sindi ma ka nyama sama libu da do sindi but nela UDP sindi o takela je
All right. I think even for clarity, konka mem for the Gambia we want, after Gambia sifa menna, ga cool kacha wala, and kacha fana seems alka based on facts le, amanchuka la miracle, and alka fene propose fana mensi keno, keta banku dol kanne, konka mem for, and recently found one example ota Senegal, ulhanima 1 year si, so mbe mol tentulambe jaila, mo be sita ye diary nyene sila, mo men ka mbenga sabe,
Janin jari.
Ni men la lota nyate ko yari bar fuare abete na mambo not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yale mune kesenoto, you know? Yes. So that's the whole thing. Allah baraka baki mbal tentula mbal jaila. Thank you very much.